Welcome to Paradigm Review Show, everybody. Tune in to our Dark Side of the Ring Season 1 review. Last time, shout out to the Dark Side of the Ring crew. Season 3 is going on right now. I'm really pumped to check out that Ultimate Warrior episode from last night. I did not get to it yet. I'm going to try to watch it tonight, but it's neither here nor there because today we are doing Dark Side of the Ring Season 2. Jeez. I know what I'm doing. Season 2.
We will get a free.
Yeah. Next time we'll be doing Season 3. We're doing Season 2. Thanks for tuning into our Season 2 review. Before we get there, shout out to my co-hosts, Mac the Critic, Gas Lucha Libra. I'm Ross. Woo! Flair, and this is Season 2, boys. So when we left off, Mac, you were wrapping up Season 1 for us because that last episode got a little weird. I think, Season 1's only, 6 episodes. This season's longer. This season's 10 episodes.
10, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's something that obviously had to be said because it was sort of a dark, convoluted type episode.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what
you never suspect somebody like that to be that sort of person. You know? So,
yeah. But also, it's definitely the type of note you'd expect this show to end on because it's like maybe the most depressing show ever. So, episode 1, episode 2 is a 2-part. Speaking of depressing, it's Chris Benoit. So, what did you guys think of episode 1, part 1?
You want to go first, Gas? Because
yeah, man. Very tragic, very sad. Chris Benoit, one of the best technical wrestlers in the game, put on some epic matches back in the day with Kurt Angle. Really sad, especially when we heard about how another legendary wrestler who sadly passed, Eddie Guerrero, how his death affected Chris.
Mm.
And I just thought it was so sad. I mean, it was very raw. It gave us, the fans, and maybe people who don't know about Chris Benoit, really deep insight. Yeah. I just thought, I just couldn't say anymore. It was just tremendously sad, really sad and tragic, and such a loss to wrestling.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of the darkest, like mind you, I've seen this Chris Benoit thing happen on the, that's the first time I heard it was on the news, that sort of news right there.
Yeah.
From from a local channel and not like the WWF announced it or nothing, because everything we watch through the WWE or WCW or whatever, we accept it like if it's part of the story, it's entertainment.
Yeah.
But with this sort of thing, happening on live news, you just like, wow, I mean, and obviously, on TV, it was already, the fans believe it as so like, oh, we had another loss in wrestling, but the dark tale in this one, man, it was just, it went deep, I'm honestly, look, I'm gonna be real with y'all. It's just how I felt about the end of this episode is what got me, because at the end of the day, people have their thoughts about certain things, and to me, if y'all want me to say it, I'll say it, but
Well, you don't have to do your final, because I mean, we could cover part 1 and then cover part 2. So it basically, part 1, if I'm not mistaken, I think is mostly like his rise to like superstardom, right? Like his come up and then where he's at in his contract and kind of what level he's at and this and that, and whether or not like the superstardom is going through his head or not. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of a back and forth argument that they're making. Obviously his friendships with the other guys, I guess, like Max said, I mean, this announcement kind of broke the fourth wall because everything is in wrestling is scripted except for when you have like an accident or, you know what I mean? These other, when they're real, in other words, when their real lives bleed into the news, into the public sphere. And, obviously they can't control that narrative. So when you have like these kind of like wrestler deaths or whatever it is, all these other various topics are covered in the show in these other episodes. But in this case, the Chris Benoit story, it's to start the season on this was like crazy impactful and emotional because you're like, damn, we're starting with this. And you're like, where can we really go from here? And if you look at the episode list and you know like what episode it ends on, you're like, oh man, they ended on that. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
so it's like, for this to be the start and that to be the ending, it's like, oh my God, what kind of emotional roller coaster ride are we going through in between those? You know what I mean? So pretty extreme. Unfortunately, if you guys know the case or what happens here, his family is involved in the incident. So basically what I'll say is I'm not quite sure about the narrative that these episodes are basically running, because don't they go into CTI and basically saying like the majority of the wrestlers are taking these hits to the heads, you know, with the impact against the mat, and you know, much like they make the similar argument to boxing or MMA or the NFL, you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not quite sure I saw the evidence of some of the conclusions they were drawing. They basically said it was like an emotional spin out of control combined with his pill addiction and alcoholism. And then on the top of that, they're like hypothesizing like the CTI, you know, excessive brain damage thing. But I'm not sure they actually show. And again, I'm not a scientist, guys, so, you know, whatever, you can kill me in the comments if you like. Clearly, I'm the host of a YouTube show, so if you're expecting a genius scientific diagnosis from me, don't be surprised.
I thought you did that on the fly, man. You know,
don't be surprised. Yeah, exactly. Freestyle in my spare time. You know what I mean? That I do the brain surgeon thing on the side. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I'm clearly not an expert on it, guys, but in my opinion, and I saw this a few months back now, I'm not quite sure. I'm not saying it's not a possibility, because if you're a professional wrestler and you're taking these impacts, of course, any type of injury like that is a possibility. But I'm just not sure. Like, I kind of felt like they were grasping at straws and just looking for a way to explain it. And I'm not sure, like, a situation like that always has a direct scientific explanation. I don't know how you guys felt on that.
Scientific explanation, like how?
As far as like him having brain damage, and basically what they're, I guess, alluding to, guys, was, you know, they're basically insinuating that due to his brain damage injuries from the sport, that it, like, drove him crazy, that it drove him to do that to his family, in addition to his other ailments. You know what I mean? Yeah,
they make that. You're right. They make that argument a lot for generally any contact sport, from NFL, rugby, boxing, like we said, MMA, kickboxing.
And sometimes it's legit. Sometimes there's scientific proof. But this time I kind of thought, I was like, wait, did we see anything that actually proved that, other than them just saying
it's
that's a possibility? You know what I mean?
Like I said, for me, it's just incredibly tragic. Yes, very shocking what happened. Anybody who knows anything about wrestling, you know, has heard this story before. It's very, very sad. And it's so emotional and so tragic, as I've said, that I struggle to describe this, to sum up my feelings, because it is just that sad. But and again, as you said, and we'll get to this, and it's kind of revisited at the end of season 2. And I'll wait till we get to that episode, and you're like, man. And yeah, man, I'm with you on that one, Ross.
So real quick, guys, if you're unfamiliar with like the wrestling world, behind the scenes, announcers, executives, this show has crazy bigwigs in it. Jim Cornette, you know, one of the leaders. Jim Ross, I think, another former announcer and another executive.
Yeah, he's on AEW now. Yeah.
So he's got the AEW shirt in season 3 on. So this is and then also Chris Jericho is the narrator. I think we forgot to mention that last time back, which is kind of instrumental. He's like the executive producer of the show.
I think the only, like, that's it, one of the darkest things about that whole episode 1 and 2 and all that, man, it's just based off the fact that it all stemmed from the death of Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, the spiraling depression, I can totally understand. I mean, that, like, them being best friends and all that, yeah, totally see that. Heartbreaking story. I don't want to dwell too much on these episodes, guys, just because it's one of the most man. I've ever seen in my life. So if you guys have anything more on it, you can wrap it up.
It's good, but if you think about it, Ross, you, Mac, as well, this kind of theme is carried throughout season 2 with some of the episodes, as we're going to get into, not just on the final one. as we'll discuss, even the episode on Legion of Doom, it's got that sadness there, which we're going to discuss. So this is quite a theme that goes throughout season 2, I thought, and
I'd agree.
It's an emotional roller coaster for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you got anything else, Mac, or you want to?
Nah, man. I just let's just say it was just so speculated, that whole episode, just because there's just a lot of questions that you ask, how and why, and what. At the same time, you kind of see little truths to certain things, and basically how they connect. Let's just say for example how they connected pretty much the police reports and what they found in the phone calls, the conversations, the words that were exchanged back and forth, and how Chris Benoit was at the time, and how he sounded, just immersing yourself in that whole mind, just immersing yourself in all that, it's just wow.
It's a strange case, like Mac was saying. Didn't he have a Bible out with him when they found his body? That was a weird twist, you know what I mean? Anything time that happens, it gets a little bit strange. I'm gonna move on for that one, guys. If you
let's move on from that one.
Yeah. Slightly more lighthearted episode, although also not lighthearted as of due to recent events. Rest in peace to New Jack. New Jack is the man. Let's say New Jack, the craziest man in the world, the craziest wrestler I've ever seen, the most insane guy that was ever in the sport. Shout out to Lauren Raplay. Check out Dark Military, out now. I think it's on Amazon. It might be on everything. You probably rent it on YouTube as well. Lauren sent us his Roadhouse short film a while back, and New Jack had a cameo in that. New Jack, so shout out to Lauren and rest in peace. New Jack, the life and crimes of New Jack. Holy crap, guys! I didn't really know that much about ECW. I did generally about it because I think ICP had some crossovers here and there, so I knew a couple of the fighters, but. Oh my God! I did not know how crazy ECW was, and I certainly didn't know how crazy this guy was. This is the craziest guy I've ever seen. I think he's the craziest guy.
New Jack is the fucking definition of extreme wrestling, man. That old guy goes hard all the time. He's the most extreme fighter. He's giving the beating, taking the beating. You know what I mean? That dude was just
a monster.
He was wild, man. He was a wild card up in there, man.
Yeah.
But if you think, Mac, as well, how extreme ECW was, and he was the extreme of extreme. He was that amped and pumped. Yep. I remember back in the day, I think ECW was on the channel here called Bravo. And I had Sandman and all of them coming in, man, and it was insane, super high adrenaline. I guess think of that grimy era of golden era hip hop fused with death metal as a sport for wrestling. That was pretty much it. And the stuff. As we'll get into, the guy who sadly passed, who he they found out was actually a minor. Who was a minor who went into the ring, and New Jack got him up, and then some of the other fights. Man,
was that the kid? Was that the Revere, Massachusetts event? That with the
and there was the other.
Yeah. So that was I used to live 2 or 3 miles away from where that happened. So when they're the mass transit was he went in as mass transit, right? He was hey Jack, can I put you through a table for my first move? And he was like, no. And then he freaking razor bladed the kid's forehead, and the kid almost bled out. That was freaking nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah, and there's the later case which is mentioned when he's when I think in the early 2000s, and he's on the indie leagues, and it was an event in Florida, and he stabbed that guy in the ring. That was insane, man. But
I don't remember that one. But then didn't they do a crazy high jump? Or wasn't that his last stunt? Was like that crazy high jump at the very end, and like nobody else wanted to do it because it was like way higher than like the regulation.
Yeah, exactly, man. He took that, I think, to such an extreme, the extreme of extreme. Like, as I remember ECW as a kid, watching it as a kid, man, and it's just insane. And I think it was, again, a wonderful insight into that era of ECW. You know, the hardcore matches, the brutality they had. And you'd think then these guys are doing it raw, and like as it says through the episode, the stunts were getting more extreme. So we're gonna jump off the rafters onto someone, and we'll go higher and higher and higher. And I will you get a word in here, but our boy Fowler, rest in peace, who passed away. He went to ECW way back in the day and watched it, and he said he made the mistake then, I think, of, I don't know, shouting something kind of, I think it might have been Sabu, was possibly when he was in ECW, someone, and chased him out the arena down the road.
God, it's so bad. See, ECW, when you see the New Jack footage, like he's going in the stands like every second. Like, man, when he was down south and they were calling him the N-word and like all his homies and freaking, they were like, yeah, dude, we were trying to get them to call us the N-word. It was a badge of honor. Like, they just wanted to offend people like as much as possible. Like, it was like the craziest. And his homies were fired too. I forget what their crew was called, but
yes, there was 3 of them, wasn't it?
Was insane, freaking. Now his origin is he takes his name from New Jack City, right? Or someone names him.
Yeah, he said like when he was young, he watched New Jack City. He thought it was like
fire.
He was wrestling I guess like he was getting into wrestling at the time, man. He's like, New Jack. That's why I'll call myself, you know. So,
fire. Such an epic crime film name origin, and it's just I never seen anything that crazy. I didn't even know there were guys that crazy. Like I said, I probably knew more about like ECW than the average normie, but I didn't realize people were razor blading each other and jumping off 200-foot fucking scaffolding and fighting every guy in the crowd.
I mean, I'd like to see somebody go to. I mean, it's the worst thing you can say wrestling is fake anyway. Someone would go into ECW back in the day and go to any of those guys and say it's fake or whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna address the wrestling is fake issue later on this season on episode 7. So we will address that statement. That statement actually addresses itself in this season.
Oh, very much so.
Which is ironic enough. So. Yeah, New Jack was epic. I don't know. This was one of my favorite episodes. I don't know. I don't know where you guys are at on this one. If you have,
I liked it. You know what I mean? Basically, like that's somebody like I heard of once, but I never watched as much. You know, seeing someone like him, you know, like knowing about him and you know everything that he did, him still being alive today, you know, to tell the story. You know, like I was extreme, man. Shoot.
Yeah.
One of the most extreme wrestlers ever, man. He really did break the rules, you know.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he really pushed it to the next level and was taking it to as many extremes as he could, all in the art of how far can we go this, how far can I push the boundaries. And he really did, and was just more amped and pumped up. And I think when you look at the fans that were around ECW, it's very high adrenaline. They were getting pumped up on it. So New Jack was feeding off that, as you would do, because you're getting that atmosphere and energy, and you think those small arenas they were doing, and I mean, this is as raw as hell. The injuries those dudes took,
for sure,
just insane.
And you also got and you can also add on too that what you call like just like the training process alone, you know what I mean? Like how they do it and all that, and show like you know what the extremities they go to, but show like it's to them it's harmless. Not to mention, you know, them, you know what I mean, just still following the rules of wrestling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, hiding razor blades under their tongues and crap while they're in the ring. I mean, that's a little bit too crazy for me. I probably couldn't walk down the street doing that and walk and do that at the same time. Never mind go in the ring and have an actual battle with someone. I'm trying to remember who he was doing that last stunt with. I think it was another big name as well when they were doing that big jump. but I forgot who it was.
Yeah, it was, and I cannot remember now either. But yeah, it was, and that was just insane. Jump through, man, and it's just even now when I see these events, like when I'm watching, AEW and like the recent Blood and Guts match they did,
yeah,
and it's the fans just feed off that energy and adrenaline, and I'm up there with them. I'm shouting, I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, Gaz is like throwing mom's coffee table out the window and sledgehammering his walls, like just watching wrestling. It's all cool. Shout out to my man Greg from the Gray Stage, sub their channel. Check out my Gray State script deep dive with him. It's on the channel now. Greg, you got to catch up on Darkside season 3, so we can bring you up here for the season 3 review.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess the only thing I gotta say left about that episode is the Darkside point of it was mostly like where he grew up at, basically his past, and and where that's past led him to be. Like basically effed up. So yeah, man. I mean, he was just like pretty much, giving everyone that's just pretty much a fact of what he does. Like this is how effed up it is, how extreme I can get. If they have a problem with it, they can get rid of me, but I'm making them money, so they don't get rid of me.
Did he have some crazy quote at the end where they're like, New Jack, what are you going to do? And he's like, I'm going to do like a crap ton of cocaine and hookers or something. I forgot what he said, but he had like some crazy quote like that at the end of the episode or something. And anyway, rest in peace to New Jack.
Yeah.
I've never been so entertained in my life. Shout out Greg. He knows his stuff. He said it was Jack Victory was the dude that New Jack dropped for revenge. I think that's correct, Greg.
Yeah.
This guy knows his stuff, man. It proves that Greg is not a WWE normie, so...
Yeah, and shout out to Greg. Don't know if you've seen it, man, but I do remember when I talked to you last, and I know you're into martial arts as well, man. Have you peeped Warrior? We did a review on season 1. We've got season 2 review yet. If you haven't, oh man, get on that because I'd love to have you on that review for it, man. It's absolutely fire. Anyway, back to Darkside.
Shout out to our 3 live viewers. I don't know where you guys were when we were doing season 1. You guys didn't seem too crazy about it, but season 2 is much feel free to interact in the chat. Episode 4, The Brawl for All. This was so crazy.
Oh my god! I gotta talk about this one. Right here. Look, first off, man, I was there when they first started this whole brawl for all.
Good.
I know you were there, BX. So shoot, I know you were there too, guys. Like basically, this whole boxing, and wrestling. Both of them, none of them knowing how to box. They just going.
No hand game whatsoever. WWF turns into MMA. Just man,
they should have had Tyson there, man. What is wrong with them? They had Tyson in Generation X.
Tyson would have mowed through those guys like a lawnmower. What are you talking about, man? That would have been like taking a tractor through the ring.
I think the insurance bill would have been very high.
In there, and look what happened to freaking Bart Guns, man. Like
yeah. So Butterbean smoked your man. I know that happened, but let's give him some background. Plot summary. It's known as the worst idea in the history of professional wrestling. A legitimate boxing tournament led to a career-ending injuries and had audiences begging for a final bell. So they basically tried to set up this fight, guys, and it was just it was the worst thing.
Hilarious though.
Yeah. So what happened again? So that one guy said that he was a tough guy and he would kick anyone's ass. Right?
Bradshaw.
Yeah. And then it was like it was Cornette's idea, or it was it was the other. It was
Vince
Russo's idea, right? Yeah. So Vince Russo's idea, and so they set it up, and it's just a total and complete mess. So who? Yeah. So it was supposed to make Dr. Death, and then what happened? Bart Gunn, didn't he beat Dr. Death and he won or something, right?
Yeah. Bart Gunn was just knocking all of them out. Yeah.
So they set up the legendary match of Bart Gunn versus Butterbean, and Butterbean smoked him. If you guys see what Butterbean looks like, holy crap. He looks like Kirby Dreamland manifested into like the physical form.
Let's just get like the most dangerous prize fighter around and put him in a boxing match.
Yeah, dude. So it was utterly, man. It was so entertaining. What a bad idea that was. Like this episode, I'm like, oh my god. Like Max said, like WWE guys who are ground game wrestlers doing this pseudo boxing match, and it's just like the worst thing ever. You know what I mean? But yet you can't look away from the screen in the episode because it's just so entertaining. Yeah, exactly. And so it just ruined everyone's career. It was absolutely horrid. You guys can feel free to give your breakdowns.
Nah, man, it was definitely the worst idea you can ever do, man. Like, basically, that's a whole other sport, man. Like, boxing takes like skill, you know, like
sweet science.
Yeah, boxing's hard.
Exactly like Gas said, that it's a science, you know, and that's a science, a whole new science they haven't even covered yet. They only know wrestling. They only know how to body slam. They know how to, a suplex. They know.
A boxing body is building a boxing body is completely different than building a wrestling body because there's no takedowns in boxing, so you don't have to worry about stuffing a takedown like you have to do in MMA or wrestling. You don't have to have any legs. You literally don't use your legs for anything in boxing other than footwork and balance. You know what I mean? It's not like, so you have these jacked meatheads, you know what I mean? And freaking they're just like they're not built for upper body cardio, you know what I mean? It's just they're all endurance, you know what I mean? A wrestling fight is all endurance.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I bet that's a weird rule.
I think this episode, the Brawl for All, was the most hilarious. It was the funniest. I laughed, and there's that segment where they're talking to JR, and JR's like, "Oh man, it's just such a bad idea. Destroyed people's careers."
Yeah.
It's like a movie you watch where one of those movies where it's so bad, but it's funny, and you've got to watch it even though it's terrible. And yeah, man, they try to do something different, but when they stood up and then when they've got it's about a gun, isn't it? They started training him in boxing, and he says himself when he's got to fight with Butterbean, and you're like, oh man. Yeah. And he's like approaching it like a boxer, and even Butterbean said if he hadn't approached it like a boxer, he might have had a 50-50 chance, and you just knew this isn't going to end well. And so, like I said, such a bad idea, but just so funny, hilariously funny.
That's basically the equivalent of like taking the MMA fighters and putting them in professional wrestling when they're used to kickboxing. And I mean, granted, some of them come from a wrestling background, so maybe some of them could adapt, but that's more like taking boxers and putting them in a wrestling thing and be like, hey, you're in this tournament and you can't use any stand up.
Man, shit. Like wrestlers don't know nothing about a right hook and a jab, man. Yeah. They're all about freaking just like slapping you on the chest and you know what I mean, headlock and the rock bottom, all that, man. That ain't nothing.
Well,
that's boxing to the boxers. Man.
Yeah, that's what's funny, VX. Sorry, Ross. I was in a parallel dimension then for a second.
Invaded by Max brain.
Yeah.
What are y'all both tenant? Go on.
Yeah. I was just thinking of how I know our host in a different circle as well. I mean, you've got some guys now in wrestling who've been from MMA background. Bobby Lashley, well, he's in WWE now. Jake Hager, for example, and others. And there was Ronda Rousey who went into WWE, of course.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like as you said, a point where these guys are used to one style, and it's as much as some of the high flying styles in wrestling can be entertaining, and you get some fans that get like really extreme about it, saying, look, if that were real, that MMA guy would tear them to pieces. That high flying, it's entertaining. It's just that's all it's put in there for.
You get
is the entertainment. That's it. End of. A couple of seconds.
Yeah. So most people don't understand that there's like 3 to 7 second knockouts in MMA. It's not like watching a 12-round Floyd Mayweather fight where he just dances around his opponent for like 20 hours and just tires them out. Like,
and then they drop on the floor from
MMA can end when the bell rings, you know what I mean? Like, that's the difference. Let's move on to the next episode if you guys are cool with it. I think Mac had to step away, but it's all good. Me and Gaz could do Jimmy Snuka and the death of Nancy Argentino.
Yeah. This was another sad tragedy tragic case. Went into every angle on the legal case. With regarding what happened to see, is Jimmy possibly responsible? Oh, another emotional roller coaster for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't think I know where I actually stand with this, because
I don't either.
it kind of leaves so many unanswered questions. You know, was he responsible? Was he not? And it's obviously very sad for the families on both sides. Yeah. So I completely empathize. But this is Darkside of the Ring. Some of the episodes are, are richly dark and not easy viewing. We're just talking, Mac, about the episode 5, the death of.
Let me do the plot summary real quick. Investigating the mysterious story of Jimmy Snuka, whose girlfriend Nancy Argentino died in their motel room in 1983, revealing her family's 30-year struggle for justice. Snuka was the man. I mean, I thought he was a monster. You know what I mean? It was awesome learning about his life and his career. He seemed like a super badass wrestler to me. I don't, as Gaz said, I don't think I've seen enough evidence that I would be able to point the finger directly at him and say it's his fault.
Exactly.
I could just say that it's possible, but I wouldn't be able to just, I wouldn't just be able to throw him under the bus like that. And it's the wrestling world, so a lot of the things are misty, murky in the gray area here. So,
yeah, I mean, what about that phone call though, man? That's probably the only thing that got me a little, questioning about it. But at the same time, though, you wouldn't even really know who. It could have been like someone totally different. So who knows, But
yeah, exactly.
At the same time, it is quite odd,
It's odd. It could be something like you were saying, but I wouldn't be able. I'm no detective and/or attorney, guys, so I wouldn't be able to do legal evidence breakdown for you. But leave your theories in the comments. You know what I mean? If you guys seen the episode, you know what I mean. Definitely check it out. But his life was certainly interesting. It was definitely a very interesting episode. Again, it's Darkside of the Ring, so don't expect to be leaving the episode with a good feeling after. It's always brutal when these wrestlers take their ladies down with their downward spiral. We just lost Gaz. I hope we'll be able to return. Do you have anything else on Jimmy Snuka or the death of his girlfriend, Mac?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tragic. That the family had pretty much don't really know what or the truth in the end of the day or what happened. But Jimmy Snuka, being who he is and all that, man. He even said if they don't want to believe me, let them believe who they want,
Yeah.
And I guess he got tired of fighting it at the end of the day, and shows I guess shows like that, just pretty much you really don't know what to expect, from someone like him who is a prime suspect, and based off evidence and all that, at this, it'll just have you questioning, did he or did he not, but but that's what makes the show so interesting, Darkside, basically was the murder and him being involved in it and all that. So, yeah, man, it was very misfortunate.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Gaz.
Thank you, man. I think I just got slammed out of the show then for a second. I thought it was interesting as well when it was showing you how Jimmy started his career and how he's one of the pioneers for the high flying style. At the time he was doing things other people weren't. So that was interesting in itself as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't at all, am surprised at the case from her family and them fighting against that struggle for justice. Because I think that's what any family would do. Greg just made a great point. Did the show mention the guy with the briefcase who tried to pay off the family? I think they did have. I was going to say I didn't remember that at first, but I think they did mention that. He said allegedly it was Vince who tried to pay them off. I think there was some mention of the league trying to pay them off, but I don't. remember exactly.
That doesn't surprise me if it is. If it is just on the reputation that that Vince and that have with wrestlers, that doesn't surprise me.
Vince doesn't come out of any of these seasons looking good, guys. Spoiler.
No. Well, look what WWE. Do get me wrong, folks. Like what you like, but for me, I'm Ring of Honor, AEW, New Japan. Only WWE I'll follow now is NXT because sadly, well, it's just not what it was.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's pretty sad, like I said, seeing whenever it's like a wife or a girlfriend, it's always pretty rough because they're they kind of get sucked into the life. Do you guys want to move on to the next one, or do you have anything else?
Yeah.
Okay, so no disrespect to the mysterious death of Gorgeous Gino. These are the episodes that I got confused last time. Rest in peace to Gorgeous Gino. No disrespect. Rest in peace to Dino Bravo. Okay, it was a couple Italian guys. Excuse me, being the Sicilian, I should have got that right. We review a lot of content on this channel, guys, so it's easier to make that mistake than you think. So if the wrestling world completely revolts and burns down my channel, I probably won't be able to stop you guys because there's millions of you fans. Let's talk about my man, though. This guy was a complete loon. 30 years after Dino Bravo's brutal murder, family and friends relive his descent from Montreal's favorite wrestling son to mob enforcer and the deadly consequences that followed. This episode was crazy. First of all, I did not understand how much of a loon Dino Bravo was, so I'll let you guys lead us off.
That's crazy. I didn't know there was a Montreal mob that they mentioned on this episode, man. Like,
right,
wow, man. He actually had ties with them, man. That's like, like, yeah, man. Like, it's kind of like with like Italian boxers, like, getting involved, with like some guys from the mob, So yeah, man. I mean, like this is an interesting episode, no? I definitely say that.
Hell yeah. Well, hell yeah. Let's get a guess.
He was related, I think, to the pretty much. I think it wasn't the leader of the Montreal mob who used to be a wrestler himself in the 1930s. If I remember correctly.
Mention that. Yes.
And it's interesting how it showed you what a powerhouse this guy was as well. How they changed his character when he got into WWE. Made him all anti-American. Got to mention sporting one of the most dangerous hairstyles to eyesight ever in the history of wrestling. I mean, if you look too closely, you're going to go blind. Yeah. It's like,
I don't think he was a fan of that.
No, he wasn't. Very hard striker, and then it's sad when he was having some of these classic matches, and then the aren't giving him so much of the push, and then that's how he becomes, as we say, an enforcer, needs that money, and it leaves again another episode leaving unanswered questions. How it appears he was killed by two people. He knew them. How they entered into I think his apartment. How he was shot from the two different weapons.
This is a hell of a case, guys. If you like true crime, if you're not even a
very
wrestling
complex
fan, as Gaz said, or you're a fan of a Hobo with a Shotgun or Grindhouse movies, just the style of directing in this show and the reenactments they do are super entertaining. If you just want to learn some behind the scenes stuff of the sports world. But if you're a true crime fan, check out the Zodiac Files episode 1 on my channel now, and Zodiac Files episode 2 dropping tomorrow. This is a wild case, like Gaz was saying. If you're into true crime, if you're into mafia, mob stuff, criminal activity, organized crime, you're going to have all those elements in this episode, which is crazy. So little background on Dino and him getting in there. And go ahead, Mac.
I'm about to say the next Mafia game, they should put someone like him in it and like a Dino Bravo type character in there.
They really should. There's a bunch of gaming studios in Montreal. They got who's up there? Epic.
Isn't Ubisoft in Montreal?
I think there's a bunch of them. Ubisoft's up there. I think Epic used to be, and then I think there's a few more up there. So we expect that Dino Bravo secret character, guys. So so his neighbor is this man's, and he's active member of the organization of organized crime up there, and so they're homies, and then he ends up kind of being an enforcer for him and doing things on and off when his career winds down, and that's kind of like what appears to lead to these events. basically, like Gaz was saying, I think he basically sends his family away, like his wife and daughter. And there's some very interesting interviews with his daughter and who's his wife as well. And they provide a lot of the background context to his life and the events of his mysterious death. He basically sends him away like on a trip, or I don't recall exactly, but if you guys check out the episode, we're about to give you mad spoiler alert. You guys will see what we're talking about. And then he's there like home alone at the house. He's like sitting on the couch, or sitting on the reclining chair, like watching TV, like as if he knew they were coming, like he knew they were coming for him. Yeah. And then, like Gaz said, they pull up with like multiple weapons. I think it's like a SMG and a pistol. Yeah, they dump the rounds on him, and they just drop the guns like right there in his house and leave. So like Gaz said, it obviously looks like there was 2 shooters, and then for them to just leave the guns that there, like, and it's like for it to be unsolved, and they kind of know that it's crime related, like seems like it was over money or whatever. That's one of the weirder ones. I mean, I was kind of a bit like surprised by that. Like, it was so epic seeing his rise, and he seemed like such a great personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the street he lived on, man, as well. It's all a mafioso living on that street.
Yeah, I think it was his neighbor.
Yeah.
That's how he got like involved in the stuff. So, which is crazy. That one story about the NHL guy talking crap. I think that guy made a wrestling is fake comment. Talk crap to him. Dude brings him outside. I was talking about this in season 1 with Matt because I got the episode switched, but we got to revisit that story. He brings him outside, puts the guy's face through the trunk of his car, and just beats the bag out of him. And if you guys follow hockey, I know Gaz does at times. NHL players are not weak guys, so you know what I mean? For someone to just take a pro hockey player like that and dust them in the parking lot is like a few and far between happening.
Well, it's like when those moves are done for real, it's the same with the judo throw. An expert judoka hip throws you outside in the concrete, you're not getting up, and it's the same if you're power bombed, suplexed. You're not going to ask for another one.
On the asphalt, no. Hell no. It's crazy. So I don't know. This is, I mean, I research a lot of organized crime, and like Max said, I did know about the Montreal Mafia. If you check out the show Bad Blood on Netflix, it's like an organized crime show that takes place in Montreal. It's pretty badass. But man, geez, this is one of those times of real life and this kind of behind the scenes crime bleeding into these wrestlers' real lives, and just how real it can get. You know, I think the theme of this show is like these guys are real people. You know what I mean? It's not always the glitz and glamour that you see in the ring. You know what I mean? So,
well, I think the biggest takeaway that people will get from this show, and we all know this because we follow wrestling, etc. But for those that maybe don't, is just how they put the bodies on the line, especially back then. I know they still do now, obviously, but just what the sacrifices they make, all in the name of entertainment. Like New Jack was pushing it further and further to the extreme. Mm-hmm. The injuries are very real. You still, even though you practice choreographed and you can do break falls, and depending on how high you're going to jump off, you can land on crash mats, sometimes cardboard, as Chris Jericho recently did with Blood and Guts. I know there's people complaining about the botch, but you still get an impact. Anybody who trains in any kind of fighting discipline will know this. If you get thrown and you break fall, you still get an impact on you as well. So you're still taking hits. It's real in that sense.
Shit, freaking Mick Foley like jumped off I think a tall ladder. Yeah, you know what I mean, just to slam on a 10-foot picnic table and all that, man, and just to practice on like how he would like take the hit. You know, that guy took hits, man.
Oh yeah.
There was a there was a famous jump Shane O'Mac did. I think it was in one of the SummerSlams in the early noughties. Stupidly high up as well. So I mean, people forget about this stuff, and sadly, as we're going to get to as we get near the end, when sadly some of these tragic accidents can happen if it goes wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people like misunderstand the stunt aspect, and guys saying the technical ability to carry out stunts. Like, you got to keep in mind when you watch a movie, they have a $100 million budget in like 3 to 6 months to prepare those stunts. Like WWE is every weekend, right? So they don't have that kind of prep time. And when they put that stuff on, and then back then, I assume the technology was much more primitive. So.
Yeah, they have a brutal schedule, the wrestlers, man. Whatever company they're in, incredibly brutal.
Definitely.
No, they go ham.
Do you guys have anything else on? Do you want to go to the next episode? Or?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. David Schultz and the slap heard round the world.
This was fire.
Let's do a plot summary before we get into this one, guys. We're going to address all kinds of issues in this episode. This guy was awesome. Like, I don't know, if New Jack was one of my favorite guys of this season, Schultz was a close second because, man, and what's his name? Stossel. I'm going to get to you in a minute. I see you, boy. I'm going to handle him for David too, because that guy was talking some real mess in the documentary, so I'm going to have to rebuttal him there, brother. The cautionary tale of David Schultz, set to become a superstar until his violent run-in with 2020 reporter John Stossel saw him exiled from the business that he was sworn to protect. This guy's the man. I'll let you guys start us off.
Okay, go on, Mike.
Oh my goodness. Nah, man. I mean, well, let's just say like Schultz already knows the deal, man. Like, you know,
he does.
When you screw the wrestlers, man, they come around and they will screw you right back, man. I mean, you just don't know how or don't know what. That's the thing, man. People forget that people, they think like, you know, regular human beings, man. They just the way they feel is like, even if it's the most meat-headed solution, they'll do it.
You will be met. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, it's not exactly a non-meathead sport, so I mean, but. Yes.
I love this episode.
Me too.
Because it had so many funny moments. Schultz, man, I would have paid that guy just to go on a real hip hop record and cut some promos and just narrate a verse.
I'll pay him right now. If anybody wants to send his contact info with his fees amounts over to the channel, I'll have him cut promos for PXF right now. That guy's ridiculously entertaining.
Exactly, and it was interesting because when it talked about when he was chatting on his farm about how he got into wrestling and he wouldn't back down and he was fighting back against these guys and then he got trained and he was awesome on the mic, and when it was showing you his promos, you really did believe that this guy's an absolute badass. This guy's dangerous, and he could back it up in the ring as well. Incredible presence, persona, aura around him. And then there's the whole, as this episode explores, and now we're live. I have a mental block recalling the term, but Jim Cornette mentioned it, and it was about that kind of agreement between those in the wrestling community of back then of not admitting that this is choreographed, that this is I don't like using the word fake for it either, because I know the training what goes into it, etc.
Oh well, it's not fake. It's not fake. We addressed that on other things before. So
exactly.
Go ahead, guys.
So I think when it gets to the slap that when the slap that went around the world, and like as Jim Cornette said, Vince apparently he'd gone into the dressing room, told Schultz to go out and speak to this reporter and remain in character. Yep. So totally the wrong guy for this reporter to speak to.
Could have asked anybody else.
Yeah, and he's slapping him on the ground, and I'm like, man. And then
let's just like build up his background and his rise a little bit, in case people don't know him, and then I'm going to get to that slap, and I'm going to handle Stossel too, because he's had some real.
We've got to come to the Japan connection with it as well, because that was so funny.
Definitely.
That's funny.
So back in the day, I think Hollywood Hulkster picks up Schultz from the local leagues or whatever minors he's in, and they're doing 2-on-2s or whatever, and Hulk is basically trying to get him in the league. I think they finally get him over there. Schultz, he was doing 2-on-2s with Hulk back in the day. he also did some 2-on-2s with my favorite wrestler, Roddy Piper. Yes, I think that's about where we're at. So like Gaz said, Stossel. Okay, so I know what you're talking about, Gaz. That guy who was the rat, that guy who got kicked out of the league, went and practiced with Stossel, and he showed him some of the behind-the-scenes secrets and the lore, and that's what made Stossel do his expose that he was going to be the guy that was going to expose wrestling being fake. Because Stossel is an idiot, and so was that other guy.
Yeah, he was an investigative report.
I forgot his name. Maybe it has. Forgot who that former was. It no, it wasn't him.
I could identify him because he got smacked.
Was it Eddie Mansfield? Is that who it was? Or anyway, who cares? Because that guy was a tool. But
what was his name?
Stossel gets the idea that like just let's keep it together here, Mac. Stossel gets the bright idea that he's going to go backstage. Mind you, listen to what I'm saying, guys, at a WWF event, and he's going to question fighters in the locker room about their sport being fake. I don't advise anybody doing that unless you're 350 pounds with a fighting background and you're actually prepared for the situation that your mouth could get you in. Stossel's not. Stossel's 100 pounds, soaking wet, so-called investigative journalist douche. Now, here's my breakdown of the situation, guys.
Don't know back.
Vince goes to the locker room and says, this guy's out here trying to expose our sport for being fake. Yeah. Go out there and check him in character. But the one problem, as me and Gaz previously stated, was he asked David Schultz to do it. And if you've seen David Schultz on his farm with shotguns and machine guns and his freaking bounty hunter background, you know that's a guy you don't want doing that. So Schultz comes out there and he goes, I'm going to ask you some basic questions. He goes, okay, some standard questions. Okay, cool, sounds good. And he asked him 3 or 4 warm-ups to try to get his feet wet, but you could tell he's getting a little bit nervous about this next one. And that's what he comes out with. This isn't a question to me, but this is what he says. I think it's fake. Does that statement, I think it's fake, sound like a question to you guys? So when you're supposed to be interviewing someone and you make an asinine statement like that, insulting their sport, what do you guys think happened next with the name of the episode? Is the slap heard round the world. Fucking Stossel. Where's this? What's this guy's name? John Stossel. John Stossel. David Schultz slapped the dog piss out of you on camera. Hit him with one, freaking buckled him. I think he stumbled back up, got him with another one. The guy ran down the hallway, freaking stumbling. I've never seen someone move so fast after getting the crap slapped out of him. Smoked him.
Yo, he was an old head too, man.
So bad. It was an open palm, dropped him like a bad habit. It was so bad, the guy got smoked. He was a total douche. Now, what happens next is Schultz gets turned into the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because he slapped the crap out of him. And down the line, Stossel claimed that he had that hearing problem.
Yeah,
so what did he get? Like 250,000. And then
something like that, yeah.
He got like a settlement from, I don't know if it was from Schultz or from the league or both. And he basically said, like, was it my understanding that his doctor told him that was like mental scarring that was making him feel like he had that physical problem?
Yes, yes.
What are you talking about? Like, you were such a Sally. So whatever. Is he that weak? I don't know. Go ahead.
Two things though with this. One is I think when I think Stossel is looking to get some settlement, and I think Vince is wanting to make out that it was all Schultz to get him to sign something to say, look, you take the fall, you know, I had nothing to do with it. And I thought that was terrible, because Schultz is like, hey, I'm doing what I was told, I'm doing my job, I'm staying in character. The other thing, as I briefly hinted at, the Japan connection, I couldn't help laughing. I thought, anyone who, if you watch New Japan and you've seen Lance Archer when he was in New Japan, and he used to assault people in the crowd, members of that on his way to the ring, And they kind of have him do that a little bit in AEW, where sometimes he'll throw someone around. But if you look at what he did in New Japan, now my point is with this, New Japan, they always like take it to the extreme, not so much as in ECW. And I thought it was so funny when Schultz is out there wrestling, the Japanese ask him, "Can you slap a reporter? Can you slap a reporter?"
Okay, yeah, I kind of forgot about that. So they were trying to over there, and that became what he became known for, and then they wanted to use him for promotion over there.
And they had the picture of a Japanese reporter just laid out in the newspapers, and I thought that was hilarious that they've got him. The Japanese turned it into a cell.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. It's the biggest thing. Hey, if you're the competing Japan league there, how are you not going to capitalize on that? It's the biggest thing that ever happened. Now it broke the fourth wall a little bit, along with John Stossel's face, but it's all good.
But
good.
Yeah, good. Sorry, go on. We'll get to the next part, man. I really enjoyed this episode, so I'm getting.
Yeah, it was badass. So I was just gonna, because we got it's epic, but we're on this one for a little bit long. We gotta get to the other three. So basically, just to wrap it up, I just want to cover. So they make a big deal about it, as Schultz says, and they get ready to drop him from the league, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Hollywood Hulk, who originally recruited him and helped build his career, he's not helping him anymore, and they used to be friends or whatever. They're supposed to be friends. Hulk just throws him under the bus. Hulk goes on that other TV show, was it Late Night TV or whatever it was, and Hulk puts the freaking host in a freaking chokehold. The guy passes out and falls over and hits his head. Can we make the argument? Is that not worse than slapping a guy a couple of times? It's like, okay, but dude, look at the size of Schultz. Okay, he slapped him, knocked him down, but if Schultz would have hit him with a straight, open right haymaker, he would have sent John Stossels through the head past Jupiter, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like he hit him full strength, yet Hulk choked a guy out and dropped him on his head on TV. You know what I mean? And Vince had no problem with that. That was cool. That was good. That was good to go. So what the hell was that? That was a total double standard. So
in conclusion, basically, when you talk about wrestling, the sport is never fake. The entertainment part of it all is the story and how they acted out and all that. Yeah, that's the entertainment part.
Yeah, the storylines. Yeah,
the storylines and all that. You know what I mean? Of course, half these guys would hate each other in the ring, but then they'll have a beer right after.
Well, there's one thing though. It kind of it turned to Schultz's advantage how he become one of the most famous bounty hunters ever, and could use his wrestling background to obviously get the most dangerous people going around at that time, cut awesome promos, and as he was saying, people knew who he was, so no one would mess with him. It's like, oh yeah, I saw you fight whoever.
For sure, but that was a little bit sad because he should have been a wrestling super.
Of course,
a guy who can be that badass, of course, has multiple talents and abilities, as Gaz said, so he could go be a professional bounty hunter. But I feel like he would have made way more money being a wrestler, superstar personality. Plus, he is putting his ass on the line, like Gaz said, being a bounty hunter, which somewhat you do wrestling as well, because stunts can go wrong. You could get injured in the ring, blah, blah, blah. Someone can hit you dirty, but that's not like Gaz said, going after drug dealers and freaking runaways, and any one of those guys could have a gun, be waiting in their freaking crack house to shoot you. So you're literally in danger doing that. You know what I mean? So
so what's the next episode?
Next episode, you guys all good on David Schultz?
Yeah, we good.
Oh, John Stossel, you said F you, David Schultz, at the end of the episode. F you, John Stossel, you little fucking soy boy beta cuck. You're a fucking clown. Get the hell off my fucking feed. Get him out of here. All right. Cocaine and cowboy boots. The Herb Abrams story. Holy crap.
Oh man, this was legendary.
Entertaining episodes ever. I didn't even know much about this league. One man's fanatical attempt to build a wrestling empire to rival the WWF goes tragically haywire as his ego and cocaine addiction kills his dream and him along with it. The UFW, guys. I didn't know much about it. And wow.
Neither did I, but this was hilarious. Obviously very sad and tragic at the end, but this guy, this little Jewish dude who's full of so much energy, running around like a hyperactive rabbit, kind of made his mission to take on the WWE or WWF at that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of the big names that were in there, Cactus Jack, aka Mick Foley,
Cactus Jack's the man.
people like that. And whoa, dude, this guy literally partied all the time, and that's obviously sadly what cost him.
It was like mountains of cocaine, like Scarface.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, he was literally off his face all the time, man. And
man.
And he was going
off a snowman right on his freaking nose is, man. That guy's a dude.
Herb Abrams. So, I mean, honestly, it kind of all made sense because Vince is or was on the East Coast at the time, right? And Abrams wanted to build up the West Coast, which honestly, before he started screwing it up and ODing on cocaine, the plan actually made sense to me. I don't know how you guys felt business-wise. So he goes to Vince to propose creating the West Coast franchise, and Vince turns him down, and that basically drives his drug-fueled spiral out of control.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Like, dude.
Yeah, go ahead,
Mac. It's what's so funny about his story is just like mostly like, he had a great dream, but the dream just went all haywire. When he got addicted to hookers and
chasing the dragon, literally.
Man. Like basically, he was just trying to live the dream of being a wrestler and entrepreneur. When he was just a wrestling fan who just got lucky with so much, man. Shoot.
Yeah, he was too obsessed with his own self and his on-screen narcissism, because like by him being that host and the announcer, his ego was too big. And as much as Vince is obnoxious, you don't see Vince like with a microphone like on the camera like 100% of the event, like freaking Herb Abrams.
Yeah, I mean, the entertaining part about it is you're fine.
Bright red face of Herb Abrams, just like 1,000 rails of cocaine deep, screaming at 1,000 miles a second. Let's talk about that last event that they have, because they try to have that epic super
event.
One
in the MGM.
Blusters into a fail. They only sell out 20% capacity. There's no crowd.
But do you think it was cool that Mick Foley, aka Cactus Jack, then they take their fight up into the stands, even though there's no one there.
Yeah, for sure. No, that was dope. I mean, I don't hold it. Woo! I don't hold it against the wrestlers for like trying to come out and perform. I mean, you know what sucks about that then versus now? With PPV and the pay-per-view not going well for them because Herb Abrams wasn't able to promote it right and not fill up the MGM. Like nowadays, let's take current event like the pandemic when literally nothing was going on. If you would have had that event now and streamed it to YouTube or something, you would have got 1 million views. It wouldn't have mattered if the venue was empty. You know what I mean? And that's what was messed up about back then. Pay-per-view had just come out, so it was the only option on TV. You know what I mean? So
yeah, pretty much, man.
Yeah, and that wasn't it. The other event he tried to do before that, the one that really bombed badly, was it the beach break, and it was at the wrong location in some factory or abandoned warehouse or something. And the dude and that other dude was saying, "Look, man, there's going to be nobody here," and it didn't sell out. And
exactly. Yeah, he had multiple fails. So I mean, I liked what he was doing over there, though. Like you guys said, I mean, he had Cactus Jack, he had some good names and whatnot, but just the guy did way too much cocaine and it didn't manifest. But he was an interesting character. And then I guess those last couple events, he was spending all the money on coke. Wasn't he running around the room naked full of cocaine?
And down the street,
and the wrestlers kept coming up like, dude, you owe us our performance fee. And he was like, was he writing blank checks or something? He was writing empty checks.
Checks are bouncing.
Didn't have anybody's money.
Checks were bouncing. Wrestlers couldn't even get paid, man.
How did he die? Was he running around with a gun and he shot himself, or he got all paranoid and he ran into a door, didn't he? He had but it was I think he had a gun because he was paranoid, and then I don't know. He
started chasing one of the hookers that he had in the
they thought
hotel room with him,
and
she slammed and she shut the door. He ran into
Then rest in peace to Herb Abrams. I really didn't know anything about him or that league. So
me either.
Episode. That's why this show is so good. You find out about all this stuff you guys probably are not up on. At least, I mean, we're all, Golden Age wrestling fans.
Yeah, well, we all would have thought it was like WCW is the alternative, and that's the one that I saw more of because I didn't really get to see WWF much because over here in the UK it was on Sky Sports then, so you had to be a little bit more richer to have that. But WCW was on TV, so that's why I obviously got to see WCW more than WWF.
Let's go to this next one. This was interesting. This was dope. Guys talked about this earlier. What's it called? The Last Ride of the Road Warriors.
This was my favorite episode.
What do you know about the Legion of Doom?
I learned a ton about this, dude. I did not know that the Legion of Doom was a rebranding of the Road Warriors. So the inside story of how wrestling's ultimate tag team partnership is undone when one half of the powerhouse duo slides into alcohol and substance abuse. This is the Legion of Doom, as Gaz said, a.k.a. the Road Warriors. These guys are a monster 2-on-2 team, maybe one of the most epic 2-on-2 teams ever.
Yeah.
It definitely is, man. I didn't know they were known as the Road Warriors.
That's what I was saying. Dude, that's like a Mad Max reference, right? So
yeah, pretty much. Because they had like the armor, like how the Raiders had it.
Post-apocalyptic armor, exactly.
Yeah, like a Road Warriors. So yeah, man.
Dude, I like the Road Warriors name a lot more than Legion of Doom, but I mean, sick 2-on-2.
What you call Animal? What you call Road Warrior Animal and Road Warrior
Hulk and Animal?
Yep. Fire. Both are awesome. I love both of their personalities, their attitudes. I think they're one of the best 2-on-2 teams of all times, if not maybe the best.
Definitely were, man.
Agreed.
The best duo ever.
Crazy entertaining. Some of the most. Yeah, they're just this is
on the Legion of Doom, man. All the way up to LOD 2000, man. So yeah.
Do you think it was so interesting when we're hearing about the backstory, their origins, how they come up, that no one had shown them how to sell the moves, how to sell a strike, so they were wrestling really for real. They were hitting each other with the gloves on his power.
I believe it. It's like this is a team you could see on ECW's crazy freaking hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's interesting, as you said, basically the armor and the look from the dude from Mad Max 2 who's got the Mohican, who's on the dog leash. This was my favorite episode, guys. I really enjoyed this. There's that mix of euphoria of, like, we're seeing one of the most legendary tag teams ever. I totally agree. Then very sad with what happens. But when it was showing even the clips of their matches, when they were putting on the clotheslines, the slams, the finishing moves, brutal, man, brutal. You wouldn't want to take one of them. I really wouldn't.
Hell no, man. This was this as far as like wrestling history, I think this was my favorite episode of just learning of their rise and I guess fall, which is the unfortunate part, but it's a lot of the stories in wrestling.
Man, I found it tragic though.
I know.
Basically, like how Animal died, and you know what I mean. And of course, R.I.P. Animal and Hawk. You know what I mean. So, yeah, man. Like, but that's the thing, man. They died doing what they love, man. It's wrestling.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've been entertaining for a very long time, man. Since the '80s to now. Well, not to now, but
Well, there's one, and I'm glad that was a Animal. I hope I haven't got this wrong. Forgive me if I have. But was it Animal who met the lady who he married, and was very happy with? So he got some happiness and peace, and that kind of got him back on the straight road there. And then that's sadly, that he didn't get to live the full life with her, but at least he got to live some life with her.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think like showing more humanized.
Yeah,
because their on-screen personas were so crazy. It was nice to see some of their actual real-life work out.
Exactly, man. That two looked like they could have been on Sons of Anarchy, man. Be the most.
Oh, hell yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
That would have been a genius cameo. I would have taken those guys on anything. If you're a Road Warriors, aka Legion of Doom fan, and you haven't seen this episode, you've got to watch this season, and you have to check this out. It was crazy. You guys want to move into this final episode, and we will wrap this up on an extremely melancholy note.
Yeah. Let's get into the death of Owen Hart, sadly.
Let me just say, on season 1, when they do the Montreal screw job and they cover Bret Hart, it's epic because Bret Hart is the man and a legendary epic legend.
Yeah.
This one, again, is super interesting if you're into the Hart clan, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, the Harts, their father. Man, Owen Hart was epic. I remember when this happened, I didn't really know that much about him. Other than what happened at the time that we all saw was a headline, kind of like Mac was saying in the news. So obviously, everybody at school came in talking about this the next day after it happened. Actually, it looks like it was.
I saw I saw the VHS tape that was recorded. My boy and all that, man, and from a while back and all. And basically. What did they say? What did I see? He was on the top catwalk, and he's supposed to come down with that string. But the thing is, according to what they said on that episode, like the string wasn't attached too well. Yeah. So, man. And then once he was coming down and all that thing took his whole weight all the way down, and then they didn't show his death or him hitting the ring. They just cut the camera. They cut to like the audience and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they had Jim Ross's commentary when he had to make the announcement.
Jim Ross's commentary, because he was talking the whole time.
Yeah, the announcer basically had to announce it. So it looks like actually it was May 23rd, and that was just when it was 1999. That was just like about a week ago. So it's the anniversary. Rest in peace to Owen Hart. Almost the anniversary. Rest in peace. Owen Hart. May 23rd, 1999, Owen Hart fell 80 feet to his death in a stunt that went tragically wrong. Bravely reliving his final day, his widow, Martha, reveals the mistakes that took his life. Yeah, it was really unfortunate getting that commentary from Martha because obviously you never want to hear from one of these people's wives who passed. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but it's just a little bit depressing to see, especially with her fighting against the league and, you know what I mean, that them not really taking responsibility for it. So like Mac was saying, the way they do a good breakdown of this on the episode. Okay, so Owen Hart, let's back up a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Owen Hart's like one of the best technical wrestlers ever. Him and Bret are smoking everybody. He has this different sort of rise, and it's like a fan favorite. You know what I mean? Everyone is all about him. And then at these different times, I guess like the latter end of his career, they start messing up his brand when they're switching him around. Yeah, for real. I agree, Greg. They're switching around his persona. I think way back in the day before he had a name, he was what, Blue Bandit?
It was Blue, yeah.
Blue something. And then so they regurgitate that gimmick for the latter half of his career after he's already a star. And I think it was Ross or Cornette or whoever that said, like, you don't take a famous star and put them in a mask and pretend that so they call him Blue Blazer.
Yeah,
so they already messed up. All of this happened because they messed up his branding, and they tried to regurgitate the Blue Blazer, which is just like the worst. He's basically like another Gold Dust. And you know what I mean? But it's actually Owen Hart underneath it. So it's a legend that you want to see, but you can't see him because Vince makes him put a mask on, blah, blah, blah. And then they had him coming in and out of the ring via aerial wires. And they felt that it was taking too long to clip him and unclip him. So they tried to switch up the clip to something more. It was supposed to be more efficient, more quick, fast. And then when he went off, he falls off the 80-foot drop during a live event for his fight, and then when he landed on the I guess he landed on the edge of the mat or whatever, the ring, he obviously
right in the ring,
did not survive because it's an 80-foot direct drop. So like, unfortunately, and it's brutal, man.
And it's so sad as well because I think is it the who is it who says that when he was falling, it might have even been, I think G.I. even mentioned this possibly as well, that he even said, like, look out. He knew sadly that was it, and he still said look out. So it shows you know what a good person he was. And my friend Dino, who he had Sky when we were growing up, so he's always got to see WWE to say I was more WCW, because that's obviously what I got to see, and I got to see bits of WWE as a kid, but not much. And yeah, that clip, I've seen that before of JR when he's live, and JR only has like literally a couple of seconds, and you know Jerry Lawler then comes back and says, "Look, you know, Owen Hart's he's passed."
Yeah,
and it's so tragic, so sad, because he was so talented. And I think it's Chris Jericho towards the end of this episode, and think who came into WWE. You'll good Kurt Angle coming in, Edge and Christian, Dean Malenko, you know, all guys like that, and the matches that Owen Hart then could have had.
Yeah, for real.
Those guys would have been legendary, man.
So he had a decent, was it a title match, or didn't he have a decent match with Flair? Might have been. I can't remember if it was. I think can't remember what they were saying about it now. But I think, wasn't Jericho saying that he modeled his style and his persona after Owen Hart's style of wrestling? If I'm not mistaken, I think he said that in the episode. If not, he may have been talking about someone else. But I think it was Owen Hart.
You're not sure on that. I can't remember, man, to be honest.
I think he said it was like one of his influences for his origin, basically. Like, I like what that guy's doing. I'm gonna try to do it like that guy. It's unfortunate, like Gaz said, you know, even in his last moment, he was still trying to look out for, you know, people below him, so he didn't like injure anyone else on his way down, like, which is just crazy. I personally, my mind is kind of made up on this one, whereas me and Gaz didn't take a stance on those other episodes. I pretty much blame the organization for this.
Oh, I do.
They should have never put him in that stupid costume. They shouldn't have had him doing that. They should have had the clips checked. They made multiple mistakes, and that's just like super unfortunate incident. I blame Vince and the company 100% for that.
Yeah, definitely. And it doesn't do the reputation of that whole McMahon clan any favors, which is still the problem with WWE to this day. Vince is literally in everybody's ear, mass control over absolutely everything. I mean, we could do a whole other show on how they misuse the talent from NXT when they get called up to the main roster. Yeah, man, it was incredibly tragic, but not surprising either from, sadly, what we've heard.
Yeah.
You gotta wonder why Vince McMahon never made an interview in this like show and all. Tell his side of the story of half of the things that were happening in business with him.
So basically, didn't go ahead, Mac. Sorry.
But you know, you would have like people that were around him, like Jim Cornette and Jim Ross, and you know, like Vince Russo and all them other guys and all, man. And it's like, you know, what about Vince though? You know what I mean? Because he don't look good on this, you know.
No,
this one.
Oh no.
With this Owen Hart thing, like, dude, like, come on, you know, Owen was loved, man. He was like one of the best wrestlers, you know, you ever see perform. Like, he was professional, like his brother. Right, they're the Hart family. They're a wrestling family, you know. So
some of the best, you know. Man, it's brutal. This is a tough one for them to go out on, as we were saying, for the season. Just go ahead.
We'll look at how D'Lo Brown, who's in Impact now. I think he was on the commentary last time. I haven't seen Impact for a while, but I think he's on the commentary team at the moment and is involved with Impact. I think training wrestlers and stuff. It was still raw for D'Lo, and then you had the Godfather as well, chatting about it, how it affected them, and saying, you know, people crying, and he showed you, you know, the funeral service where there's just so many people there. So I mean, that's just how well loved and highly thought of Owen Hart was, and like Jim Cornette rightly said, that Hart family, that whole clan is like kind of like wrestling royalty, not just with the brothers, people who've married in there, like the British Bulldog. I think is it the British Bulldog's son wrestles him in MLW at the moment. So yeah, it's very, very sad. As you said, Vince certainly did not come out looking good at all. Heartbreaking hearing Owen's wife his son and daughter talking on this episode as well. And yeah, it was another emotionally draining episode. But hey, this is Darkside of the Ring. Pretty much they go all in.
You kind of know what you're going to get when you see all the episode names, or when they leak it. Make sure you guys, if you want, guys, stay tapped in on Darkside of the Ring. Make sure you follow them on Twitter, Instagram. I don't know if they have Facebook, but I'm sure that they do. You can also get, I think, almost a bunch of episodes on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's the Vice channel, but there's what's After Dark, and then there's Confidential, so they have additional behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Shout out to my man Sam. I think he's tapped in. He's a pro wrestling veteran. So after he passes, don't they do like a whack Owen Hart tribute? And like a lot of people thought it was like pretty distasteful for Vince to like try to get away with pulling that one, and then ultimately Owen's widow does not allow him to be inducted into the Hall of Fame because she obviously blames the league for the death, which it is their fault. So I can understand that, So pretty difficult ending.
I think as well, just the convenience of the clock chiming there.
Yeah,
as you can see, Gaz is live from Big Ben.
Yeah, literally, Big Ben.
He's got a cuckoo clock going off.
Yeah, man, you found out my secret, man. That's where I'm based. Yeah,
yes,
they've let me out of the Tower of London for the day, bro. Get out! You've been nicking an apple again. My terrible Cockney impersonation. I think there's something though that you mentioned earlier, Ross, when Darkside of the Ring, and you said this, Mac, that it shows the human aspect to the wrestlers, that they are people, and I think sometimes people can forget that the wrestlers, the playing a role for our entertainment as well. It's incredibly professional stunt work, the hits they're taking. And I've got to also say, rest in peace to Brody Lee. He passed not so long ago. He used to be in WWE as Bray Wyatt, I think, part of the Wyatt family, and then with Brody Lee, leader of the Dark Order in AEW. And yeah, nothing happened with it in terms of wrestling or anything, how he passed, but that really hit me hard because I was such a fan of him. And when it come out that the guy was such a gentle, loving man as well, had time for everybody in the wrestling community as a whole. It was all about sharing his knowledge with folks, and that's always one good thing about the wrestling community. There is they all got behind him from all the organizations and paid respect because I'm not a fan of main roster WWE, SmackDown and Raw now, but at the end of the day, it's each their own what we like. And sometimes people can take it too far, man. It's just like what you like. I prefer the non-PG wrestling, the more grittier side of things. So, I just thought I was in another recent parallel to show you that what these men and women are doing for us in entertainment, and that they are real people as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And that being said, I believe Owen was big on charity and so I think he helped out a lot with this community. Shout out to
this was a definitely depressing episode.
Yeah,
I ain't talking much about it right now, just because, it just really like it brought wrestling down a bit. Shows like you can't say ever what they do is fake.
No, for sure. I mean, he had an epic career, so I like to celebrate the content that he did give us, epic matches and having an epic career. It was just unfortunately was cut short, as Gaz was saying. We went kind of long on this one, guys. I don't really have too much more on that on season 2, but you guys should definitely check it out.
We've got season 3 coming soon, folks. I mean, there's the killer episode in The Ultimate Warrior. I know there's an episode all about WCW as well. There's one episode about was it called Collision in Korea, I think.
That was the second to last one. I just watched Brian Pillman Part 1 last night. Yeah. Insane. I gotta say, it seemed like Screwjack, a New Jack, influenced Brian Pillman's loose cannon persona, because that's like the totally like off script, like just like balls to the walls, go crazy, random character. You know what I mean? So Brian Pillman was crazy. I do want to watch that Warrior episode ASAP. And then they've got a few more. So season 3 coming soon. Yeah, check out those Brian Pillman episodes, Greg. Shout out to Greg. Follow his channel, The Gray Stage.
And Brian Pillman Jr. in AEW at the moment, bro. He used to wrestle in MLW, so definitely peep that.
That's what I'm talking about. So season 3 coming soon, Greg. If you get caught up, you're welcome to join us.
And Warrior.
Warrior season 2. Mac, you have a homework assignment, and hopefully we're going to be doing Tenet Monday night. But most importantly, Zodiac Files. Episode 2, finally got it done. It's uploaded. It's set for tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. PST. Like, subscribe, share, and we will link to our Darkside of the Ring Season 1 review here. Season 3 coming soon with Gaz. So that's all we got. Paradigm Review Show. Like, sub, share. Zodiac Files, Episode 2 tomorrow. Check it out.
Peace. See you on Monday, folks.
Yes, sir. We'll be back. Oh, yeah. If you have anything else you want us to review, leave it in the comments. We mostly do action, documentary, wrestling, paranormal, horror, sci-fi, grindhouse genres. We do have some indies coming up as well.
I know Mac wants to do his most favorite martial arts show ever, which he thinks is better than Warrior Cobra Kai. So I can't wait for that.
Mac wants to analyze the Friends reunion show last night from HBO Max. Got him! That's because you got us a couple times last time, Mac. But we still owe you guys the Fight Club 3 graphic novel review as well, so Mac, finish that up. We're out. Paradigm Review Show. I'll let you boy.
Peace.
1.
I think we've lost VX, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we lost VX, man.
That was an epic one, man. Yeah, I'll get Tenant watched this weekend, man. So
actually, we're back. Hold on 1 second. I pressed leave instead of end broadcast. Got him!
Oops.